Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this live broadcast. My name is Allison Lebovitz. I'm here in the WTCI studios in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am here with Dr. Brian Johnson, who is, of course, Superintendent for Hamilton County Schools. He's also brought his entire leadership team, who is, as you will see in a moment, on the phones right now, awaiting your calls. We know that this is an unprecedented time in our community, in our state, in our country, and really across the globe, and that you have questions, and we have some answers that we want to give you tonight. So if you have a particular question for someone on the Hamilton County School leadership team, you can call that number on the screen. Be sure to write it down, because this will be a hotline number for days and weeks to come. Again, that number is 423-498-5437. You will hear a Spanish prompt and then an English prompt, and it will tell you to press 2 for Spanish and 1 for English. And of course, we have our leadership team on the line. So I want to thank Dr. Johnson. I want to thank you for being here with your team, and I know you have something to say to the families watching right now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, PBS, WTCI. You know, community, parents, we understand really deeply. This is an absolutely unprecedented moment in time for Hamilton County Schools. It's an unprecedented moment in time for our nation. We are very sensitive. The number one thing we do is keep children safe. As the father of a second grader in Hamilton County Schools, I understand that personally very intimately. Know that we understand what it takes in order to ensure that we not only protect our students, we protect our parents, we protect our teachers, we protect our leaders and our support staff. Our school board has charged us with ensuring that we implement the strategic direction of our district, and we'll continue to share as the night goes on information about what's available on our website in regards to supports that are readily available, and obviously the focus on continued learning. We appreciate you tuning in, and again, Allison, thank you for having us today.
Of course. Okay, so to map out the evening a little bit, we're going to be here live for an hour. Again, in this unprecedented time, this is also unprecedented, I think, for the school system and for PBS, but we have joined forces to make sure that everyone who is watching, all 40,000, 44,000 plus students and their families, are getting the most up-to-date information possible. As we know, things change on a minute-by-minute basis, so we want to make sure that we help in some way alleviate a little of the panic and anxiety you or your child may be feeling. Along those lines, we also want tonight to ourselves model what is going to be good behavior and safe behavior in the coming days and weeks ahead. As you can see, Dr. Johnson and I are the regulated 6 feet apart, as are the people on the phones tonight. So with social distancing also comes physical distancing. These are the safe guidelines to make sure we are keeping the safest community possible. I think even a few days ago, Dr. Johnson, you know, people were still bumping elbows or willing to touch. We are refraining from that, but I've asked each of the people that we're talking to tonight to come up with some sort of distance greeting. So by the end of this hour, you will all have 4 distinct distance greetings to take with you throughout the coming weeks, and adding a little fun to the evening too. So Dr. Johnson, what have you come up with?
Yeah, just simply a peace sign.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Peace sign.
So when you see people, we got the peace, right?
Peace.
All right, so let's not take for granted that the people watching tonight know exactly where the state of the schools are right this minute. Can you give us a brief update on where we are?
Absolutely. So, Allison, we began working about 2 weeks ago, specifically as a leadership team, beginning to have the conversation about what if, preparing for worst case scenario. Our team began to determine what we needed to do in order to make sure food was accessible, in order to make sure that learning resources were accessible, and to make sure that we clearly communicate to the community what we have readily available. And so as of current, we go live with feeding tomorrow at several different feeding sites, which will be shared. Our students were able to go home Friday with online and actual physical learning materials. My son came home with a nice packet of information that he's jumped into, and we just want to do all we can to create as much normalcy as possible in this unprecedented season.
All right, and when the schools initially closed, I think it was for a 2-week period. That's been extended already, correct?
Absolutely. So initially we discussed the option of obviously closing this week and bringing our spring break forward. We heard today the information shared by Governor Lee in regards to all schools being closed through the 31st. And when we start to look at the uncertainty of what the days ahead could bring, we don't think it appropriate to shift our calendar at this time. And so we try to be extremely nimble and responsive, and we're looking at moving school opening back to April the 13th.
So talk a little bit about this, not only as superintendent, but as a parent. You have a son who is in Hamilton County Schools, so you're dealing with this on many fronts. What advice do you have for parents who are watching this right now about what that looks like in your home, how to set up maybe a space for that child, not only to have that continue along the lines of academic excellence, but also a nurturing environment that also lends itself to raising a child who needs active time, who needs a snack time? You know, how do you balance those things in your own house?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, with an 8-year-old son, I don't know what we're going to do with a grocery bill because I feel it firsthand. So we know that's a reality for parents. But as much as parents can, we encourage them to keep their children on schedule. And so whatever that bedtime was, whatever that wake-up time was, try to keep children on schedule. Work with the schools. Our teachers are doing a phenomenal job. I've seen a lot of chatter on social media in regards to the things that they're sharing and the ways in which they're engaging with students, and we anticipate that accelerating in the days ahead. And so we encourage our parents to remain committed to engaging with the schools at the school level.
Okay. You know, the other thing is, what I keep hearing is this is not a snow day, right?
No.
So when our kids are out, especially this time of year, it's because we've received, and especially in the South, right, an inch of snow and we've closed down everything. I think that's such an important message to know that this is not a snow day. And what does that mean by that? I know people want to get out, they want to socialize, they want to have sleepovers. What do you recommend?
Yeah, and so we've heard a lot over the last couple of weeks in particular the last week, about flattening the curve.
Yeah.
And what we've read in research is that when you're proactive in your efforts to flatten the curve, the more likely you are to be successful. And so our efforts in closing school, as we've seen the state really come alongside and say this is what we need to be doing, is an effort to make sure that we're intentional about flattening that curve and reducing the likelihood that this pandemic continues to accelerate in our community. And so the guidance that's been given in regards to, I heard today that groups less than 10, being available in a group and such, those things are critically important. We want to return to normalcy as quickly as possible across our community, obviously across the state and the country. And so following those steps, such as physical distancing, are important as we continue to get back to a sense of normalcy.
Great. And I'm sure you have many educators, teachers who are watching this right now. What message do you want them to take home as they're trying to continue with the excellence in education and the standards that they've set in the classroom as they create an online classroom out in the community?
Absolutely. Well, first off, we so appreciate the work that our educators do every single day. We're privileged that we have 3,200 of the absolute best teachers in the country that are committed to making sure that our students are successful, and every day, even outside of this situation, go above and beyond to prepare students in order to be successful in a global world. Teachers, we know that you have children as well. So many of you do, and you're juggling that challenge of being a mom or a dad while still trying to provide for the students that you serve every single day. And we want you just to remain committed to doing everything possible to engage your students, whether it's posting information on Canvas or engaging with phone call trees, whatever it may be. We really want to make sure that the work that you've done so far this school year, it continues to build on itself. And as students get ready to return to us on April the 13th, they're ready to take off and accelerate to finish the school year.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Johnson, I think you can hear the phone lines have been ringing.
Absolutely.
Continue to call the number on the screen below. There's an option for both English and Spanish. I want to add that if you have any questions that we might be able to answer through the HCDE website, that is hcde.org. There's going to be a link on there that says HCS Continued Learning Information. Click that link. If you have questions and you haven't gotten into the phones yet, try that first. And speaking of the phones, we have Chief of Innovation and Choice, Ms. Jill Levine, who is also no stranger to this school system and has been over there with our leadership team taking calls as we speak. So Dr. Johnson, I'm going to give you a peace out, and we're going to go over to Jill Levine.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Dr. Johnson. I'm standing here in front of our phone bank where the phones are ringing off the hook with questions from community members, family members, and students this evening. We're happy to take your calls and happy to take your questions. As a reminder, you can learn more about our coronavirus updates as well as plans for learning at home. You can, sorry kids, but you can access lots of packets of work and learning activities and then lots and lots of resources. So go go to www.hcde.org to access those resources. I do have some questions that have come in already. Melissa from Red Bank wants to know, with all the news, it's hard to keep up. What's the best way to keep up with the latest updates? Well, Melissa, we've mentioned our website, www.hcde.org, and the link to HCS Continued Learning that's right in the top right-hand corner. You will be getting lots of emails from the district. Make sure that our emails aren't going into junk mail or spam. Check all of those folders every day. You'll get regular updates. And of course, listen to those calls when they come from that Hamilton County Schools number. Another question that we have today from Sam in North Chattanooga. What do I do if my child's medication is still at the school? If your medication was left at the school, call your child's principal. We have programmed phones at schools to ring to the principal or the school secretary. They will be able to take your calls in the coming weeks. So while schools are closed, we are still functioning and we still are able to serve our community. A question from Julie in East Ridge. She asks, if I've already paid for a field trip, can I get my money back? Yes, Julie. The schools are already processing refunds. We will have online payments for some, and for others, we will have checks, which should arrive in the mail in the next 2 to 3 weeks. One more question. I have a question from Justin from Brainerd. Justin says, my kids are already driving me crazy. Boy, do I appreciate the teachers in the Hamilton County Schools. What advice do you have for me? Justin, we'll talk about this more later in our segment, but schedule. Come up with a schedule for every day. Put some structure in place, clear routines, and when they really start to drive you crazy, take them outside to play. Nothing beats a little running around in the sunshine. We hope to get more calls soon. I am going to turn it back over to Allison and Kate Scomberg, who is the coordinator of community outreach for the Hamilton County Schools.
Thank you so much, Jill, and thank you all for all of your incredible questions. Keep calling in. We have got people on those lines who are the experts. This is our leadership team in Hamilton County Schools. And speaking of leadership team, Kate, we're so thrilled you're here tonight. And one of the big questions that I know I have seen like just hitting social media like wildfire is the expectancy of children and families with food insecurity. And I know that, you know, for many students, they rely on Hamilton County Schools for not only lunch, but usually breakfast and lunch, at least 5 days a week.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing this. What are Hamilton County Schools doing to address those needs?
So to give you some numbers, as Dr. Johnson mentioned, we serve over 44,000 students in Hamilton County Schools, and about 2/3 of those rely on us for those breakfast and lunch every school day. So we know that this is going to be an incredibly difficult time for many students and families across the county. So we are on it, and we are working to create resources for families, like our family support resource website that will direct them to everything that we have available currently.
And I think we have that. We can get that on the screen if we can show the family resource website. Now, can you help us navigate there and get us to the point?
This is for the, so it's the family resource one. This is the, there we go.
Oh,
There we go. We are there.
There we go.
So this site here, and it's just our HCDE website, family support resources. And what we've put here is all the resources that we have within the district and working with community partners to collect that information. So we have, you'll see all the food resources. You can find the ones again at the school sites and in the community, as well as additional resources through our partners like United Way's 211 service, where you may need a specialized support for your family. We also have our food locations across the district. You'll be able to find these out in a list, but we've also created a map, and the one that you're seeing now actually is both our school-based sites as well as our community sites and a couple of restaurants we know are serving students. So some couple details on our food locations that begin tomorrow through Friday. They are at 36 schools across the county tomorrow. They are going to be serving breakfast from 7 to 9 a.m. and lunch from 11 to 1. And they are for students. If a parent is coming to pick them up, the child child does need to be present to pick those up. We're going to keep it really hands-off, and so they'll be in a pickup setup there so they can just grab them and go, not have to get into the school and do a lot of interaction there. And then we also have a lot of information from our community partners of sites that are available across the community in a database on our website as well that they can search for and find different resources.
Okay, great. And I think it's really important to go over those numbers again. If you're listening, you know we have more than 44,000 students in Hamilton County schools. 2/3 of those are eligible for free and reduced lunch, and we're going to make sure that not a single kid goes hungry over this crisis. You know, the restaurants in so many different cities and states have been closing down, but they have stipulated that, you know, there'll be takeout available. That's sort of what's happening at these cafeterias, right? That the cafeterias in certain public schools will be hosting takeout for these students, so they don't have to worry about going hungry.
That's right, and we're partnering with the YMCA on a lot of those sites as well. So I do want to take a minute also to say, you know, we are Hamilton and we are better together, so we could not do this without our great partners in the community who have stepped up to serve our students in so many different ways, you know, by continuing to support the services they already do and even coming up with new and innovative ways. What you see on the screen is just a couple of our great partners, and we have so many more that are growing every day, so we just wanted to make some time to shout out to them.
Well, since we are PBS, you know, I love quoting Mr. Rogers, who always says, in a time of crisis, just look for the helpers. His mom used to say, look for the helpers. There's so many people out there I know who want to volunteer, who are saying to themselves, you know, I don't have a kid in school, or maybe my child is grown up, or maybe I'm a grandparent. How do I make sure that I'm helping to feed or volunteer to ensure these kids' security and safety? How can they best do that?
That's great. So United Way is serving as our hub of information and volunteers in the community. So you can go to ihelpchattanooga.org to find volunteer opportunities. All of our contact information is, of course, on that family resource page, and we are happy to point people in the right direction.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, anything else that you think teachers or parents need to know when they're looking for ways to either feed their kid? I know one important note we want to reemphasize is they can't just send a kid to school, right? They have to have an adult with them.
Correct.
That's just a parent or a guardian who needs to be with them, but they can come, say those hours again.
7 to 9 a.m. for breakfast and 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. for lunch, Tuesday through Friday. And there's a lot of other additional times for community sites, and all of that, again, is on the website, so you'll know what best to get for your family.
Great. Kate, thank you so much for all you're doing. Oh, and you know what? I almost forgot. I didn't do your distant greeting.
That's
so
right.
Have you worked on your distant greeting
I
for me?
have.
Okay, what is it?
Air 5.
Woo! All right, so we got the Air 5 greeting from Kate. Keep those calls coming in. Keep going to the website at www.hcde.org and click on the link that'll lead you to HCS Continued Learning for all of this information, for the maps, for the locations and links. Kate, thank you so much. I think we're going to go back to Jill Levine over at the call center and see what questions have come in now.
Okay, thank you, Allison, and thank you, Kate. So we have the peace sign from Dr. Johnson and the Air 5 from Kate Skonberg. We'll be anxious to see what Grant Knowles comes up with in our next segment. I'm back here at the call center where the phones are literally ringing off the hook. We have 8 lines. If you call with your questions, you may get to speak with Dr. Johnson, our superintendent. We have Zach Brown, who's the one of the directors in the Opportunity Zone, John Cunningham, who's a community outreach specialist, Elaine Harper, who's the executive director of North River Learning Community, and Keith Fogelman in Human Resources, our chief of Human Resources, all who are behind me answering phones, answering your questions. So keep those calls coming. Here are a few of the calls that have come in the last 10 minutes and the questions that might pertain to you. Lewis from East Brainerd asks, what if I can't get the work packet to print off of the internet? I believe Lewis is having some printing problems. I learned this afternoon that Staples will print your packet for free. So if your student needs their work packet printed, you can go into Staples, say 2nd grade math packet or 3rd grade English language arts packet. They will print it for you. We're going to show a live example of that in a few minutes. But Lewis, head on over to Staples and get your work packet printed so your students don't miss the opportunity to keep their work going at home. Tiana A mom in our school district asked, will the school year be extended due to days lost? Tiana, the answer to that is we don't know. We will wait for the state to make decisions. States approve waivers for districts once districts submit those, and it's really a waiting game for all of us on many things right now, but one of those is about whether school will be extended or the number of days that will be counted this year. So we'll have more on that soon, Tiana. Terrence from Chattanooga has a similar question. I don't have a work packet for my child yet. What can I do? Well, Terrence, I'm happy to tell you that if you come to central office, we have piles of work packets for every grade level, every subject. You're welcome to come out to our offices during business hours on Bonnie Oaks and pick up a packet. You can also call the school and speak with the school secretary or the school principal and arrange to stop by the school to pick up a packet. I believe those are all of the questions that I have right now that have been handed to me, but I'm sure that I hear the phones ringing, so I know others are calling in with other important questions. So at this time, I'd like to throw it back over to Allison Lebovitz and Grant Knowles. Grant is the innovation coordinator for the district, and turn it over to them for some more information.
Thank you so much, Jill. And before we start, I just want to recap what we're doing tonight for those of you who may just be joining our broadcast. In this unprecedented era and crisis and pandemic, we know that you are a little bit stressed, maybe a lot stressed. You have a lot of questions, especially if your kids have recently been out of school and now they are going to be homeschooling with you for the next 4 weeks or more. What we've done tonight is at WTCI, your PBS station, we are partnering tonight with Hamilton County Schools in order to bring you the latest information to answer your questions live and on the air. You can see the number on the screen, 498-5437. We have our leadership team standing by to answer any question that you might have, big or small. Nothing is too out of this and nothing is too small to answer. So please call us if you have anything that you're worried about, whether you're a teacher or a parent. You can also go to the Hamilton County Schools website at hcde.org. There's a lot of information there at the HCS Continued Learning link. And speaking of continued learning, I have the master of continued learning with me, who's going to take us a little bit down that rabbit hole of the academic side of what this 4-week hiatus from the physical structure of school may look like. And I think, well, Grant and I, we've been planning our distance greeting a little bit, right? What did we model this after? You modeled this after, yes.
I've been a basketball coach, volleyball coach, been a coach for a while, and we always have the kind of pregame warm-ups, get each other fired up, and got like a different handshake with everybody. So this is Allison and I with just a little bit of practice. You ready?
I'm ready. Okay, you ready? Okay. Yeah. I think we nailed that. We nailed that. Even the explosion at the end. So you might have to practice that or rewind a few times at home to get that right. Okay, so Grant, so there are thousands of parents now with thousands of students in pre-K through 12th grade who are now going to be required to take their learning online. And I think people are worried. I know I'm worried, right? I have 3 teenage boys at home. You have boys at home. People who are watching are teachers and students. Take us through how this continued learning is going to happen so we continue to set a bar of excellence for our students in Hamilton County.
Sure. So this is going to be evolving a little bit as we go. Every student in Hamilton County went home with a packet or has access to an online packet for their students to use this week. So this week's going to serve as kind of a buffer. It's going to be a little bit different. And then we're getting our teachers in this week, while students are working on the packets, we're getting our teachers prepped to be doing kind of distance learning, online learning, finding different ways, innovative ways to reach students. So I just went to Staples on my way here. Our 2 Staples locations on 153 and on Gun Barrel Road have offered to print packets for free.
Fantastic.
You just have to go in, you let them know what grade you're looking for. Don't need to bring anything in, just let them know that you're looking for the packets and they'll get those all printed off for you. So Aaron and Jake watching at home, these are for you guys. So as we've mentioned, these aren't going to be snow days, and that was the big change for us today. We sat down and had the conversation that it's going to be different, and we've got the schedule that we're working for and working with and things like that. But we've got these packets for everybody to work through now. Everything, we're kind of funneling everything through our website, so hcde.org, continued learning. Every packet is there. Along with those packets, for anybody wanting to kind of go above and beyond those packets right now, we also have resources, things like iReady, which levels students for math and language arts. We have Khan Academy and other resources where you can get a little bit of academic assistance. But I've been blown away at the community output. I mean, it's literally at least every 15 minutes, we've got somebody new in the community. Like Staples happened just before I was heading here. But we've got people who are working with us constantly who are offering additional services to help us increase our internet access, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, to help us. Kate talked about the food and things like that, but I've been truly overwhelmed. This has been trying times for everybody, but the outpouring of support from our Hamilton County teachers and our partners has been absolutely phenomenal.
Well, as Kate said, that's why we use the hashtag #WeAreHamilton, because this is we over me, and we are experiencing that in high alert right now, right? And there has never been a crisis on this sort of scale, and certainly we keep saying over and over, because it's true, this is an unprecedented era in our time, and certainly in our school system. I want to address something, because I know it's on people's minds who are watching this. You talk about the internet, you talk about online learning. I can't help but think about the students who live either in communities or houses that do not have access to internet. What are you doing to make sure that those students are not left behind?
So we're doing a couple things. One, the Enterprise Center here in town has been absolutely phenomenal in us. First, kind of helping to map where we need to adjust and get more resources out there. We've been working with EPB and Comcast and Charter, and the next few days we're looking to expand our ability to reach students all over the county. Our urban core, extending in the suburban, and then making sure that we're reaching in rural areas as well. So we're working really hard, literally kind of around the clock at this point, to making sure that we're expanding access. Each of our students in Hamilton County, grades 6 through 12, has their own one-to-one device. If by any chance those came home not working all the way, if there are any challenges with that, please contact us. We know that this rollout's not going to be perfect. Our job is to be continuously improving throughout this process. This is new water for everybody. Okay. Myself as a parent, as a teacher, and as a central office member. But we've got about 30% of our students that don't have consistent access to the internet, and we're working to do everything we can to provide extended access there.
Fantastic. And I want to add that for those of you who are watching this on our PBS Kids channel, our new education director, Aaliyah, has been working tirelessly since she got on board to make sure that our PBS Learning Center is also making sure that we are aligning with the Hamilton County Schools curriculum and with the standards. We're looking at that learning media and making sure that the thousands of content that PBS Kids has will somehow be programmed to align with what y'all are doing. So TV, I know it feels old school, but is another vehicle and access point for kids to be learning. They've been learning on PBS since I was little, so I think we can continue doing that. Can you take us through the website? I know
Absolutely.
For some people who haven't been there, it may be a challenge to navigate. I think we can get that on the screen. There we go.
Great.
So how do we access this?
So everything's funneling through the hcd.org. Over here, you'll see the HCS continued learning. And then down here, we've got everything from pre-K through 12th grade. All that content right now is loaded, and that's going to be continuously updating as we add to it. You can go through and find grade level packets for my son, Aaron, in 2nd grade. You can go through here and find his packets, connect to his iReady, things like that. So all of the curriculum is on there. Over on the left side, you'll see additional resources, the iReady, IXL, Khan Academy. We're continuously also adding to the website as free opportunities pop up. Scholastic just rolled out a whole bunch of free access. But one thing I failed to mention that I'm very excited about is as we're rolling out all this access, on the resources for families tab here, we've partnered with the Enterprise Center and UTC's GIS lab to map all of the free Wi-Fi spots anywhere around you in the county.
Apparently, one of the free spots is not in this studio because we have a blank screen right now, but for those of you watching, you haven't lost connection. That's just our internet, which is a little slow. You can tell we are sort of like down in the depths here. So the fact that we get internet connection is amazing, but talk more about that.
So we've got under the Resources for Families tab, you'll find a map that we're gonna try it again. I feel confident now. There we go. So down here, Kate showed you. Kate showed you the map for all the different food and resource locations. But this map is really exciting. So showing up the public Wi-Fi spots anywhere around you. You can set the mileage range, and it'll pop up. Any free Wi-Fi within, you can set over here within 10 miles, things like that. This is something that we're constantly updating. So this is as we find more spots, as we're able to roll out hopefully more coverage through a lot of our community partners and things like that. You'll be seeing this map kind of be blanketed. So we're trying to make sure that we're reaching all students as much as possible, and we're trying to get really innovative as far as rolling coverage out to students as well. If you're having trouble finding internet access, please contact us and we'll continue to work with you. A lot of our K through 5 students, the teachers are coming up with some really innovative, non-digital ways to continue to engage with students as well, for those students who don't have a device at home.
Okay. Now, for those watching right now who are stressed out because they are very fiercely academic, or maybe they're students who don't learn the best in an online environment or at home by themselves, what advice can you give to those students and to those parents who are so worried right now and so anxious about that it's going to be fine, they're going to do great, and that they've got this?
You know, I think the best advice for me, and something that I would do as a parent as well, is kind of steer into the teachers, to listen to the teachers. My 2 sons have fantastic teachers. I get to work with fantastic teachers all over the place. We've already got teachers who are rolling out really innovative ways to engage students. We have, I saw the teachers at Lakeside Academy were filming their own lessons and things like that to help engage. Ashley Cox, who's a teacher at Howard, she's already posted her office hours, so you can see when she's available to be contacted by her students. There's a PE coach, Coach Wood, at Hickson Elementary School, who's rolling out some really fun lessons I can't wait to engage my boys with. I've seen the Knoll Park Museum magnet counselors, and I think that's something to really kind of steer into, to recognize that before you can really kind of get to the academics and the learning, you've got to make sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable, and this is something that's new for all of us. Marsha Drake's going to talk a little bit after me and talk a little bit kind of about setting that schedule and thinking about the social and emotional learning as well.
What is life like at your house? Because I know you and your wife are both in the school system. You've got 2 boys that you're raising and now will be homeschooling. What does that look like?
It's loud. So my son Jake, who's 5 years old, as soon as he got the call about the 2 weeks off, immediately ran outside, opened the front door, and just screamed to the neighborhood that we have 2 weeks off. So it's adjusting to that new norm, that loudness, right. Sharing devices, things like that, kind of sticking to that schedule, and just trying to make sure that we're having fun. And making sure that we're letting that guide us during this time.
Well, I think everybody knows we are definitely in a new normal, and the more news and information that we consume in so many different ways, the harder it is to differentiate between what's real and what's a myth. And that's why we're here tonight live with Grant Knowles, with the whole Hamilton County School leadership team. They are answering the phone lines right now. They are taking your calls live. We have Dr. Johnson. I see him on the phone right now, our superintendent, who is answering calls. If you call that number in English or in Spanish, you are able to give us whatever question you might have, and our leadership team is there right now to answer it. And in fact, I'm going to pass it on to Jill Levine, because she has some fabulous questions from some of our community members that she wants to share with all of you.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Grant. I'm not going to try that last greeting. That was a little too complicated for me. But I am really happy to have Marty Leonard with me. She is the district interpreter, and she's going to say a few words in Spanish to our Spanish-speaking families. Marty?
Familias, queremos decirles que estamos aquí para servirles, para ayudarles con cualquier inquietud que tengan. Por favor, llámenos. Si quieren hablar, el teléfono es el número 498-5437. Oprima el número 2 para hablar conmigo en español. Otra vez es la área 423-498-5437. Aquí estamos para ayudarles, para contestar cualquier pregunta que tengan. Gracias.
Gracias, Marty.
You're welcome.
I have a pile of questions because the phones keep ringing with all of your great questions. As a reminder, we have Dr. Johnson back here answering questions, Zach Brown, Sandy Lohman, all kinds of great people from our central office here to answer your questions tonight. So Mike from Red Bank wants to know, what do I do if I don't understand my child's work? Yes, Mike, I have been in your shoes. My son is taking Algebra 2 right now. Well, there are several things that you can do. Next week, teachers will have office hours. They will be live online at certain times doing live classrooms. So you can schedule a time for your child to talk to the teacher or get into one of those virtual classrooms. We also have links on our website to Khan Academy and to lots of other programs that can assist with some of those more complex math or other skills. Rebecca from Wolf Teever Creek asks, my son was absent. How can I get a packet? Again, there are several ways to get a packet. Number one, you can call your child's school, ask the principal or the secretary for a way to get the packet to come and pick one up. As a reminder, those school phone lines will ring to the principal's phone or to the secretary's phone, so even if someone's not in the building, they will be answering the phones. You can also come to our central office on Bonnie Oaks during regular business hours to pick up a packet. And also, if you're out and about, you can go to Staples, you can tell them the grade level, the subject, and they will print your packet for you. Pre-K sign-up is another question that came up. Right now we have pre-K sign-up scheduled for April 1st. We will meet as a leadership team on that one tomorrow. It's one of the questions we haven't resolved yet, but we will have an answer for you. Stay tuned. Be sure that you're checking our website for information, that you're listening to those phone calls when they come from the Hamilton County Schools, and that you're checking your email for updates as well. We will do everything we can to continuously communicate with you and share those updates. Okay, this one is coming from Sadi Daisy. What if I can't get to school to pick up meals? I don't have a car. So if you're hungry and you want those school meals, that breakfast and lunch each day, and can't get there, call 211. That's 211. That's the United Way number. We have volunteers and community groups who are making deliveries to families in need. So don't hesitate to pick up the phone, call 211, and ask for some assistance. There are people standing ready to assist you with that. Rachel from Chattanooga, Brown Elementary called. How will volunteer hours be handled at magnet schools? Great question, Rachel. We actually, just a few hours ago, I emailed the magnet school principals. We are going to suspend the parent volunteer hours requirement. We're not suspending the parents, we're just suspending the requirement this year. So parents, if you didn't do your hours and don't think you'll be able to due to this time that we're out of school, you will not lose your magnet spot this year. We are suspending those hours. The same thing is true with the teacher conferences. So don't worry about that. Of course, if you can volunteer, we certainly want your help at all of our schools because we know that we're better together when everybody joins in and volunteers. Lauren from Hickson, my child has work for this week. What do they do next week? Great question, Lauren. We are going to keep the work coming. So next week there will be, for the older kids, there will be more work on Canvas. Hamilton County Schools teachers right now are busy creating lessons, live lessons, online lessons, work packets, assignments on iReady and iReady Reading and iReady Math. So there will be more information directly from schools and from your child's teacher in the weeks to come. And Julie from Red Bank wants to know about graduation. Julie, that's a great question as well, and I'm sure that is something that really is on the front of the minds of many high school seniors right now. I don't have that answer yet. As we've said, we're in uncertain times right now, and things seem to be changing almost minute by minute, but we're working through these plans and we're studying what others are doing and thinking about what are some innovative options if we aren't able to hold graduations. What are the online options for that? How can we do a virtual graduation? So our team is investigating those, and as time goes on and we sort of get a better sense of our reality, we will communicate plans as far as graduation goes. Last question I have right now is, what about prom? I'm sorry, but I don't have an answer for that one yet either, but the schools will be talking about those things. We as a leadership team will, and we will have some answers for you as time goes on. Right now, I'm going to send it back over to Allison Lebovitz and to Dr. Marcia Drake. Dr. Drake is the Chief of Equity for our school district. Sending it to you, Allison.
Thank you so much, Jill, and thank you all who are continuing to call in to talk with our leadership team to get those answers to questions that you've had all day, all week, and will continue to have, we know, in the weeks to come. Now, my kids just got very excited, Marcia, because I think they heard Jill say Dr. Dre, but we got a better one. We have Dr. Drake here. Have you been practicing your distance greeting?
I have been practicing mine, and I think mine is the best of all that you've seen tonight.
All right, let's see it.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Hello. Yeah,
yes.
I like this.
Get the little swing in there too.
You know what? Since my gym has closed, this is going to get me a little active, and it gets me happy when I see you. I love it. All right, so let's do the Drake. I love it. All right, so Marcia, we have so much to talk about because when we talk about continued learning, when we talk about continued food, we also are talking about continued support. And we know that the information tonight, as much as it is helpful, it is also overwhelming for parents and teachers and students. So let's bring this all together. Let's give the people watching this tonight some tools that they can use in order to really create a supportive and emotionally healthy environment as they continue to help educate their kids and get through this crisis.
Oh, yes. Although social distancing is the correct approach that we should take during this pandemic, as humans, we still need to make sure that we're taking care of our social, emotional well-being, and we are connected with each other. So one of the things that is very important from the beginning is that you set a schedule and set that schedule up. It is really good if you can get your kids involved in that schedule setting. On last night, I have 2 young boys myself, and so on last night we actually sat down and we developed a schedule. One of the other things that is under my umbrella is the homeschooling for Hamilton County. And there's a 4-hour requirement 5 days a week if you are homeschooling. So last night when we set our schedule up, we included 4 hours of instructional time. And we did make sure that we divided that up so that the kids can actually get breaks. And some of them are built-in breaks that they earn, and they can do innovative things throughout, and we actually included snacks too, because
you gotta have snacks.
Yes, but I want them to have their school stomachs while they are at home. Right. So we actually put snacks in, and we're actually putting what that snack is so that it's not a free-for-all.
So as detailed as people can be as possible, the better.
Yes.
Without being rigid, right? Like, we want to give flexibility. We know things come up. We know different students learn differently. Your 2 boys are very different ages. I'm sure their schedules are going to adapt to their learning styles, to their age, to their academic needs. We want to create a schedule, but also flexibility. Is that fair?
That is correct, and also put in some goals throughout the day. One of the things is, if the first half of the day, if you have met your academic goals, then I also have in our schedule that you can have a digital lunch with some of your friends.
Okay, so what does that look like?
So a digital lunch with your friends would be like FaceTiming with a friend and chatting during that lunch period, which is fantastic, a way to keep connected with your peers. And then even breakfast in your pajamas. Right. I mean, how cool is that? You don't get to do that very often, but you can have breakfast in your pajamas and chat with a friend. You all can discuss a book that you're actually reading, some required reading throughout this time period. So it can turn into some academic discussions as well.
And I've heard adults and children alike are starting these online book clubs because it's a great way to keep, your intellectual spirit blossoming, but also to create that social interaction when we're really going to be missing that.
Yes, and one of the great things with the actual FaceTime or the video chatting is that you can see people's facial expressions, their body language actually comes through there. So that's really important during this social distancing time.
Yeah, I feel like the number one word used besides pandemic is the word Zoom.
Yes,
everybody is going to Zoom.
Yes, everybody's Zooming, and fortunately for our teachers, the Zoom company, they have suspended that fee so that teachers are able to Zoom with their students. So it's great. Actually, our senior leadership team, we've been Zooming for quite some time and very often during this time period.
That's incredible. Now, I think we showed them before, but you have some sample schedules that any parent or student can access online. Is that right? Because I love the idea of a schedule, but sometimes I'm thinking my schedule may not be the optimum schedule and I'd love some help. Will those schedules be accessible online for people to use as either exactly how they are or as a guide for how they set up their student?
Yes, exactly. I think that we do have them here that they can show on the screen now, and we will actually have them on our website. We have samples for elementary as well as for secondary for you to use as a guide, and make sure you know, that you take some time to develop that so that there is some accountability for that time, the academic time during the day.
Okay. Now, we were talking before you came on the air about how for so long we have told our kids, get off of your technology. You need to concentrate on the real world, get off your technology. And now that whole message has been turned upside down in this age, right? Now we're saying, guess what? Everything is going to be on your technology. Get on there to learn, get on there to connect. So how do we balance that? Because I also know, like, one of the greatest joys of childhood is playing. So what advice do you have for parents who are trying to manage the directive to move online for their social and academic interaction, but also the necessity to really get out into the world and breathe some fresh air and get some physical activity?
So yes, maybe some walking around your home, maybe in your backyard, so that you still are practicing that social distancing. Maybe some inside things such as some yoga, and I'm sure that if you go online, you can find out some, or you can Google some teaching yoga. Just some basic skills there. And you know, sometimes it is just really important that we pull out some of those just old-fashioned things that we used to do, like board games or that Twister game, so that we can get some interaction there at home with our families, and some movement as well throughout the day. And even maybe using some of those exercise balls that you have at home, allowing your students to sit on those balls as they do their work, so they're still getting some movement in as they're at the kitchen table or the dining room table during their work throughout the day.
And you know, I think people sometimes forget about it, and it's an ancient technology, but the telephone is a great way to connect to somebody, right?
Absolutely. Yes, it is. And we are encouraging that as well, that you actually call your friends and make some phone calls to your grandparents throughout this time, and discuss with them what you have done throughout the day and some of the lessons that you've learned throughout the day, because since we are really asking to be social distance from the elderly, because they are in that high risk group, that you reach out and contact them, as well as writing letters, and write letters to some of the elderly, and send them in the mail, postal mail. Imagine that. So just going back and making sure that some of that learning that we did and some of those practices, they're still good practices to use during this time.
Yeah, I want to remind people that when we talk about social distancing and physical distancing, there are so many things that are allowed when we talk about that. Chores are allowed. I know my boys are very upset to hear that. Anybody can do chores, and that includes that if you have a neighbor who may not be able to rake their yard or mow their grass or to pick their weeds, maybe offer to go do that and be in the outdoors, right? And to connect with people, right? We're, I think, very concerned that during this crisis, we're going to become so isolated that we forget that social connections are so important.
Very much so, very much so. And I'm glad that you did talk about the chores. That is something that we actually added in our schedule for an hour a day. As well as, you know, you talked about maybe getting outside, maybe walking the dog or your neighbor that is elderly, walking their dog for them. So there are a lot of different things that you can do throughout the day to get that exercise in, because we do want them moving throughout the day as well, making sure that you are taking the breaks that the students need throughout the day as well. And then at the end of the day, evaluating how your day went. And so what did we do well? What do we need to work on? And then setting goals for the next day. Because there are going to be some days that you don't get everything in that you would like to. But there is the next day. And so that you may have to work a little longer, but actually planning for that and taking it one day at a time throughout this season. I know when we woke up this morning, we thought that it was just going to be this week, and then we were going to have spring break on next week, but now we've had an extended period, and we won't come back until around the middle of April. So this is opportunities for families to reconnect and to just do some of those things within the home. Cooking, and that is a great math lesson and measuring things, as well as, you know, you can add up the price that it costs for the ingredients. There's just numerous ways that you can use learning within the home. We often forget that parents are the first teachers.
Absolutely.
So this is the excellent time for you to get some of that time back. I know I say my boys are growing really fast and time is getting away, but this has given us an opportunity to kind of slow down and to spend some time together.
I love that. Well, thank you, Marcia. Now we know we need to stay on schedule, stay on task, create goals for our kids and ourselves, and find times to even take a break. So thank you. All of those resources that Dr. Drake talked about, again, are on the hcde.org website. Sample schedules and other resources. Keep emotionally and socially healthy during this time, and keep those calls coming in. And we're going to go back to Jill Levine, who's going to share some of those questions that you've had with all of us.
All right, thank you, Allison. Thank you, Dr. Marcia Drake, for the great wisdom. And I have to say, I agree about cooking with your children. Shout out to my son, Jake, who's now in college, but who's a phenomenal cook. And I think it's because he cooked when he was little. And we also threw in a lot of math while we were following recipes. So great way to throw some academics into your day. I have a big pile of questions from all of you who are watching tonight. I'll start with Amanda from Chattanooga. Amanda wants to know about classified employees and whether they will be paid while they are not working. I checked with Keith Fogelman, our Director of Human Resources, who is behind me. He says for the week of March 16th through the 20th, all classified staff will be paid and will be on call as needed or actually at work. He is now working on plans for the next 2 weeks. Kimmerin from Chattanooga asked, have there been discussions on how the school closures will affect the end of the school year? Yes, Kimmerin, there have been lots of questions and lots of discussions. You may know from our superintendent that our senior leadership team meets twice a day right now just to sort through all of these questions and to come up with answers as quickly as we can. Unfortunately, right now things are just still uncertain worldwide. And so we come up with solutions, but we have to be very flexible right now as we seek answers, because these are uncertain times, as we said. Jessica from Chattanooga asks, what will happen with pre-K and kindergarten registration? Will they be moved? That is on our agenda as a conversation for tomorrow at senior leadership team, and we will have more information on that soon in the next few days. Carla asks, is there any news about how prom or graduation will go? Again, I know all of our seniors really want to know the answers to that. We are exploring all options. We're exploring, we may be able to have graduation when we had anticipated having it. We're looking at possible June or July dates. We're also looking at virtual options. So we're looking at every option to make sure that seniors do have that special closure to their high school or their K-12 career in Hamilton County. Jen asks, I still have to work full time and we only have one device per 4 kids. What is required and what is offered as resources to parents? Well, Jen, that's a great question. There's no perfect answer. These aren't perfect times. So we're all going to have to do the best we can. We are working on some plans to deploy additional devices. So expect to hear more about that. Chromebooks right now that are in schools that haven't gone home. We have a fundraising campaign, some people working on finding more devices and purchasing more. So we will have more information in the days to come on that. Kat asks, what are we doing for our children that receive exceptional education services? My son cannot just sit and do a packet. Great question, Kat. Please call your child's school, reach out to your child's teacher. The special education teachers are working as well. They will be communicating through Zoom, through Canvas, other online platforms in the coming weeks. Note on our website that beyond the packets, we also have links to iReady Reading, iReady Math, all kinds of other programs and resources that can be used with your children at home. Another question, for food, do you have to go to your child's school to pick up food, or can you go to the closest school? You can go to any school in Hamilton County if you need to pick up breakfast or lunch for your children, any school that's listed on our website. So please go to www.hcde.org, look at the list of schools. There are multiple schools in every learning community, and you can go to any of those to pick up the breakfast or lunch for your child. Jenny from Signal asks, how much time should my child be on their Chromebook each day, since too much screen time is not always good? Jenny, we agree with that. We are actually working with some pediatricians in the area to make recommendations to us in terms of how much planning we are doing, having especially the younger children on Chromebooks. I go back to the recommendation earlier in the program about coming up with a schedule, having a balance, make sure kids are going outside and playing, make sure there's time to read a book or to rest or to do an art project or play a game in the middle of your day, so that our kids, all of our kids, aren't just on their phones or on their devices all day. I have another question about prom, but I think we've answered that one. We are working on ideas and working on plans for that. Jose from Signal Mountain Middle in 8th grade asks, will we have to go to school in June or July? Well, Jose, I don't have the answer yet to that one, but we're working with the state, and we will get more information about waivers and what the state wants us to do as time goes on. So hang in there, Jose, and hopefully not July. Let's see, Leanne from East Brainerd asks, my child has a 504. What support is available? Well, Leanne, that's a great question. Our school counselors are working. They're not at school, but they're working from home. They will have office hours, so please contact the school, reach out to your child's teacher, and ask for supports. We are here to help, and we are here to support. Oh, so many more questions, but no more time. Thank you so much to all of you for calling in, sending your questions online. I'm going to send it back over to Allison Lebovitz and our superintendent, Dr. Brian Johnson, who I might add is probably the only superintendent in America who's sitting at the phone lines tonight answering calls from parents. So we appreciate everything that he does for us in Hamilton County. Back to you, Allison.
Thank you so much, Jill. And you stole my line, because I can't imagine that there is another school district in the nation where tonight a superintendent and the entire leadership team is taking time out of their busy schedule, out of their own family time, right, to sit here and personally answer questions. So thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you all. This is a phenomenal opportunity for us as a school district, and we so appreciate everybody that has posed just phenomenal questions. It was funny to answer the call and say, this is Brian Johnson, and some people like pause for a second. This is Brian Johnson, what's your question? You know, and we got great questions tonight and great things that we can go back and respond to.
That's great. So as we close up our hour, I want to thank our viewers. I want to thank WTCI for really hosting and partnering with Hamilton County Schools. I want to thank Hamilton County Schools, not only your leadership team and you, Dr. Johnson, but all of your educators, your teachers, your support staff, the maintenance crew, everybody who, some are still in the schools, making sure that as soon as we get the sign that school is back in session, that we are ready to move. But as we said, we've got continued learning, we have continued food, and we have continued support for every child in Hamilton County. What do you want to leave the families with as they leave us tonight?
I just simply say that when you get the challenging moments in time, as we are, you're so much better together. And I'm so thrilled with what's already taken place across our county and community. And I know that together we will absolutely overcome this challenge, and we will be better as a community and as a school system because of it.
And just a reminder that we will be rebroadcasting this not only on WUTC on Tuesday, March 17th, but on your cable provider on Wednesday, March 18th, Friday, March 20th, and Sunday, March 22nd. For WTCI Studios, I'm Allison Lebovitz. Make sure you stay home and stay safe. Have a good night.